They raised their glasses and laughed while I signed away my marriage. Champagne popped, crystal clinked, and my mother-in-law leaned in just enough for only me to hear her venom. Asterisk, a parasite, finally crawling back to where it belongs. Asterisk across the room, my husband didn't even flinch. He pulled another woman closer and kissed her, slow, deliberate, right in front of me, like I was already erased. None of them knew. In just 48 hours, everything they owned, everything they worshipped, would belong to me. And this was only the beginning of how I ruined them. If you're the kind of person who loves watching the underestimated rise and burn everything down, don't look away. Subscribe. Turn on that bell. Because what happened next, people still don't believe it. Let me take you back. My name is Charlotte, and before you judge me for what I did, you need to understand something. I wasn't born powerful. I didn't come from money. I wasn't even noticed. I was invisible, the kind of woman people glance through like glass. A kindergarten teacher, living in a tiny, suffocating apartment filled with secondhand furniture that smelled like someone else's past. My car barely worked. Some days it didn't even start. But I kept going because that's what survival looks like when no one's coming to save you. My mother died when I was 16, just like that, gone. And whatever was left of my world went with her. My father, Henry, had already disappeared years before. He left when I was 8. No goodbye, no explanation. Just occasional money transfers like we were some obligation he couldn't fully ignore. He never called, never showed up, never once asked if I was okay. At night, I used to hear my mother crying, thinking I was asleep. I grew up believing one simple truth. He chose anything over us. After she died, the money still came, as if on autopilot, but the man himself? A ghost. No face, no voice. Just absence. So I learned something early. Rely on no one. Trust no one. Love carefully. Then I met Nathaniel Winchester. And that was my first mistake. It happened at a small book reading event. Nothing special. But he stood out instantly. Tall. Polished. The kind of man who looked like he belonged somewhere important. But it wasn't just that. It was the way he spoke. Calm. Thoughtful. Intent. When he looked at me, it didn't feel like a glance. It felt like I had his full attention. Like I mattered. And when he smiled, for the first time in years, I felt hope. He didn't just pursue me. He consumed me. Flowers sent to my classroom. Handwritten notes tucked under my windshield wipers. Late-night walks where he talked about escaping his family's suffocating corporate empire. Charlotte, you're real, he told me one night by the river. Everyone around me is fake. Masks, expectations, all of it. But you? You're different. With you, I can breathe. I believed him. God help me. I believed every word. I fell hard. Completely. Recklessly. So when he proposed a year later, right there by the same river, I didn't hesitate. I thought I had found my forever. I had no idea I had just stepped into a cage. The first crack in the illusion came when I met his family. The Winchesters didn't just live in wealth, they ruled it. Their mansion looked unreal. Marble floors that echoed every step, chandeliers that shimmered like they were watching you, staff who moved silently like shadows, trained not to exist. And then there was his mother, Vivian, tall, perfectly composed, eyes like knives that measured your worth in seconds and found you lacking. His father, Sterling, barely looked up from his phone the entire night. And his sister, Clarissa? She stared at me like I was a joke she couldn't wait to tell. Dinner felt less like a welcome and more like an evaluation. So, Charlotte, Vivian said sweetly, her tone coated in something poisonous. Nathaniel tells us you're a teacher. A pause. A smile. How quaint. The word didn't sound innocent. It sounded like an insult dressed in silk. That must be difficult, she continued, living on such a modest salary. Tell me, dear, how do you manage? I felt it then. The judgment. The quiet humiliation. But Nathaniel squeezed my hand under the table, and I silenced the warning in my head. I told myself she just needed time. That love would be enough. I was wrong. After the wedding, Nathaniel insisted we stay with them. Just for a year, he said. We'll save, build something of our own. It'll be easier this way. 1 year turned into 5. 5 years of being dismantled piece by piece until I didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. Vivian didn't start with cruelty. She eased into it. Comments about my clothes, my posture, my voice, suggestions that I eat in the kitchen instead of the dining hall because I didn't understand etiquette, rules that applied only to me. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't use the front door. Don't invite anyone. Ever. I obeyed. I tried so hard to be perfect. It only made things worse. 6 months in, she slapped me. Hard. The sound echoed louder than it should have. My cheek burned, my vision blurred, and she just stared at me, calm, almost satisfied. That, she said quietly, is what happens when you forget your place. I looked at Nathaniel. I waited, but he didn't move, didn't speak, didn't protect me. He just walked away. That moment changed everything. From then on, it became routine. She hurt me. He watched. And later, in private, he would hold me as I cried. I'm sorry, he'd whisper. I love you. Just give me time. I'll fix this. But time never fixed anything. It only made the damage deeper. Vivian escalated. One night, she shoved me into a glass cabinet. It shattered. My arm tore open, blood spilling onto the white carpet. And she didn't panic. She looked annoyed. Look what you've done, she snapped. Clean it up. Another time, she threw scalding coffee at me. The burn blistered instantly. Her response? Oh dear, you really should be more careful. She locked me in the basement once. Overnight. In winter. No heat. No light. I screamed until my voice broke. No one came. The next morning, she was calmly eating breakfast like nothing had happened. And Clarissa? She didn't need to touch me to destroy me. She got inside my head. Fake accounts. Fake friendship. She made me trust her, then exposed my secrets in front of everyone. She twisted photos, planted lies, made Nathaniel question me. She even threw away my mother's jewelry. The last thing I had left of her. When I broke down, she filmed it and posted it. Sterling controlled everything else: money, movement, choices. He gave me $50 a week, monitored every purchase, humiliated me for buying cheap groceries. Even the staff eats better than this, he said once. Are you trying to embarrass us? Nathaniel had no control either. Not really. His father owned his money. His mother owned his spine. We were both trapped. But there was a difference. I wanted out. And somewhere along the way, Nathaniel stopped trying. That was the part that hurt the most. Not the pain, not the humiliation, but watching the man I loved slowly become someone I couldn't respect. Because deep down, I knew something terrifying. He wasn't just afraid of them. He had become one of them. And that realization, that's when something inside me finally broke. And once it did, there was no going back. Every time Nathaniel even tried to push back, Vivian had a weapon ready. Guilt. Sharp. Precise. Devastating. After everything I sacrificed for you, after I nearly died bringing you into this world, she'd say, her voice trembling just enough to sound real. And this is how you repay me? By choosing her? Some nobody over your own mother? And just like that, he would fold. Every single time. I kept lying to myself. Told myself love would fix it. That one day he'd wake up, grow a spine, take my hand and walk out with me. I held on to that fantasy for 5 years. Then, I got pregnant. I found out on a Tuesday morning. 10 weeks. I stared at that little test in the bathroom, hands shaking, and for the first time in years, I felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Real hope. I thought, asterisk, this changes everything. Asterisk, maybe this would finally wake him up. Maybe becoming a father would give him the courage he never had. Maybe, just maybe, Vivian would soften when she became a grandmother. I even planned it. Sunday dinner. The whole family there. I bought tiny baby shoes, wrapped them carefully, imagining their faces when they realized what it meant. For once, I let myself feel excited. That same Sunday morning, Vivian's ruby necklace went missing. A family heirloom. $2 million. And somehow, it became my fault. She's been eyeing it since the day she saw it. Vivian announced, her lips curling with satisfaction. A family meeting was called. No, asterisk a trial. Asterisk, I was dragged into the center of the room like a criminal. I didn't take anything, I pleaded. Please, you have to believe me. But they weren't looking for the truth. They were looking for confirmation. Vivian insisted they search my room. And then they found it. right there in my dresser drawer. I froze. I had never even touched that necklace. But it didn't matter. Vivian's scream cut through the room as she slapped me so hard I hit the floor. My lips split instantly. I tasted blood as it dripped onto the marble. "Disgusting thief," she spat. Sterling started talking about calling the police. And Nathaniel? He stood there, watching, silent, useless. The stress, the fear, the violence, it hit all at once. A sharp, tearing pain exploded in my abdomen. I felt something warm spreading. I looked down. Blood. Too much blood. I collapsed, screaming, begging them to call an ambulance, trying to form the words. Asterisk the baby. "I'm pregnant, please." Asterisk Vivian didn't even blink. "Stop being dramatic," she said coldly. "There is no baby. Just another one of your pathetic lies." That's when Nathaniel finally moved. He picked me up, rushed me to the car, drove like his life depended on it. But it was already over. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed it. I had lost the baby. Our baby. Gone before it ever had a chance to exist in their world. They sedated me. When I woke up hours later, Nathaniel was sitting beside the bed, crying like a man who had just realized what he'd allowed to happen. "I'm sorry," he kept whispering. "I'm so sorry." I looked at him, really looked at him, and something inside me snapped. I didn't see my husband anymore. I saw a weak man who let his family destroy everything we could have had. "Get out," I whispered. He didn't argue. He just left. I stayed in that hospital for 3 days. 3 days where I thought the worst had already happened. I was wrong. While I was recovering, Vivian was asterisk working. Asterisk quietly, efficiently, ruthlessly. By the time I came back, my life had been rewritten. She had fake bank statements created, showing I'd been stealing from the family. $50,000 funneled into a secret account under my name. She fabricated emails, conversations with a mystery man, evidence of an affair that never existed. She even paid the doctor, paid him to lie, to tell Nathaniel I had only been 4 weeks pregnant, that I couldn't have possibly known, that I was faking it. When I returned to the mansion, Nathaniel was waiting, not with concern, with judgment. "Did you marry me for money?" he asked, his voice shaking. I stared at him, not understanding. "What?" "I saw everything," he said. "The accounts, the emails. My mother showed me." "No." "Nathaniel, listen to me. I lost our baby." "There was no baby," he snapped. "The doctor confirmed it. You barely knew. You couldn't have known." He showed me the documents. All of it. Perfectly crafted lies. "You're a liar," he said quietly. "I want a divorce." And just like that, everything collapsed. 5 years of pain. 5 years of endurance. For nothing. "Please," I begged. "Just listen to me. Your mother is lying. She's manipulating you." But I could see it in his eyes. He had already chosen her. Again. "I want you gone by morning," he said, and walked away. That night, I stayed in the guest room, crying until there was nothing left. No tears. No strength. No hope. Just emptiness. But morning didn't bring a quiet goodbye. It brought something far worse. I was told to go to the main ballroom. "The family wants to be present," they said. I didn't question it. I should have. When I walked in, my blood ran cold. It wasn't a meeting. It was a celebration. Silver balloons floated near the ceiling. Champagne chilled in buckets. A massive banner stretched across the wall. Freedom Day. They had dressed for the occasion. Vivian, Sterling, Clarissa, perfect, polished, smiling. And they weren't alone. 30, maybe 40 guests. All watching me. All waiting. They had turned my divorce into entertainment. Vivian tapped her glass, silencing the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced brightly, "thank you for joining us for this joyous occasion." Joyous. Today, my son frees himself from a 5-year mistake. Today, he reclaims his life from deception, manipulation, and lies. Today, the Winchester family closes a very dark chapter. Applause erupted. People laughed. Actually laughed. And I stood there, humiliated beyond words. Sterling stood next, reading the divorce terms like a verdict. Charlotte Morgan will receive no alimony, no assets. She will leave with exactly what she brought into this marriage. Nothing. More applause. She will sign a non-disclosure agreement and never speak of this family. She will vacate within 24 hours. Make it 12, Clarissa shouted. The room burst into laughter. The lawyer slid the papers toward me. My hand shook so badly I could barely hold the pen. I looked at Nathaniel one last time. Just once. Hoping, praying for something. Do you really believe I'm what they say I am? I asked. He couldn't even look at me. Just turned his head away. Vivian's voice cut in, sharp and impatient. Sign the papers. So I did. Each signature felt like I was erasing myself. The moment I finished, Vivian popped a champagne bottle. It's official, she cheered. She's gone. The room exploded. Cheers. Laughter. Congratulations. Clarissa was already filming, posting, turning my pain into content. Within an hour, millions were watching, commenting, judging, destroying me publicly. But Vivian wasn't finished. She leaned in close, her voice a whisper only I could hear. You were nothing when you came here, she said. You're nothing now, and you'll die as nothing. No one will ever love you. No one will ever want you. Then she straightened, louder now. Escort her out, and make sure she doesn't steal anything on her way. 2 guards grabbed me, dragged me toward the door. I didn't fight. I couldn't. I was numb. And then, right at the exit, the final humiliation. A woman walked in. Beautiful, elegant, confident. Melissa, Nathaniel's ex-Vivian, had invited her. Of course she had. Melissa didn't hesitate. She walked straight up to him and kissed him, right in front of me. Vivian lifted her glass like she'd just won a war. Everyone, she announced, her smile sharp and triumphant, meet Nathaniel's real future, a woman of proper breeding. The room erupted. Louder cheers, louder laughter. And I stood there, frozen, watching the man I loved, the father of the child I had just lost, kiss another woman while his family celebrated my destruction like it was a holiday. Then they threw me out. Not metaphorically, literally. The front doors opened, and I was pushed through them like I was trash. Seconds later, my belongings followed, stuffed into black garbage bags and dumped at my feet. The doors slammed shut behind me, but the sound didn't end there. I could still hear them inside. Music, glasses clinking, laughter. My ending was their celebration. I sank onto the cold stone steps and broke. Not the quiet kind of crying, the kind that rips through your chest and leaves you gasping for air, the kind that empties you out completely. Eventually, there was nothing left. No tears, no strength, just silence. I checked into the cheapest motel I could find. $30 a night. The carpet was stained, the air smelled stale, and the heater barely worked. The bed felt like it was stuffed with rocks, but I didn't care. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling. My phone kept lighting up. That video, asterisk my humiliation asterisk, had gone viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments. Gold digger, liar, manipulator, trash. Every word cut deeper than the last. I had no one, no friends. Vivian had made sure of that. No family, no money, except the $400 left in my account. No future, just emptiness. My eyes drifted to the bottle of pills sitting on a nightstand. I picked it up, turned it slowly in my hand. It would be so easy. No more pain, no more humiliation, no more asterisk anything. Asterisk for a moment. I almost convinced myself Vivian was right, that I really was nothing. My phone rang. 2 a.m. Unknown number. International. I almost ignored it. I should have. But something made me answer. Hello. My voice sounded hollow. Not even human. Miss Charlotte Morgan? A man asked. Yes. My name is Lawrence Foster. I'm calling from Geneva. I'm the attorney for Henry Donovan. My chest tightened. My father. The man who had abandoned me. I'm calling to inform you that your father passed away 4 weeks ago. I felt nothing. No grief. No sadness. Just a quiet, empty acknowledgement. Okay, I said flatly. Thank you for telling me. I started to hang up. Wait, he said quickly. There's something else. I let out a bitter laugh. Let me guess. Debt. A pause. Then, no. His entire estate. I went still. Miss Morgan, your father was Henry Donovan. The Henry Donovan, founder and CEO of Donovan Global Industries. The world tilted. I knew that name. Everyone knew that name. A global empire, technology, pharmaceuticals, energy, real estate. Everywhere you looked, they owned something. That's not possible, I whispered. My father worked in exports. That was a cover, Lawrence said calmly. To protect you. Silence. You are now the sole heir to a $75 billion empire. The phone slipped from my hand. Everything changed after that. Lawrence arrived the next day. Documents. Contracts. Financial reports filled with numbers so large they didn't feel real. And one letter. Handwritten. From my father. I read it with trembling hands. And for the first time in years, I cried for something other than pain. He hadn't abandoned me. He had hidden me, protected me, watched me from a distance, built everything for me. And at the end of that letter, one line burned into my soul. Asterisk, if anyone ever hurt you, destroy them. Asterisk, I spent 2 weeks stepping into a life I never knew was mine. Board meetings, executives, entire industries now under my control. And I made one decision very quickly. I wasn't going to just asterisk move on. Asterisk, I was going to make them pay. I hired the best. Lawyers, investigators, strategists, people who didn't just find truth, they exposed it. And what they uncovered about the Winchesters, it was almost poetic. Clarissa had recorded herself planting the necklace in my room, laughing about it, bragging to her friends. Vivian had paid the doctor. Sterling had been committing tax fraud for years. Their wealth, mostly smoke and mirrors. And the best part? I owned their debt, every last dollar of it, through companies they didn't even know existed. They weren't powerful. They were drowning. And I was the ocean. For 8 months, I watched, quietly, patiently. Their empire began to crumble. Investments failed. Lawsuits stacked up. Banks turned them away. Panic set in. And just when they were about to fall completely, I offered them salvation. A company called Phoenix Collective stepped in. $300 million. Enough to save them. One condition. They all had to attend a board meeting. Together. They celebrated like they'd been rescued. They had no idea they were walking into a trap. The morning of the meeting, I felt calm. Not angry. Not emotional. Just certain. I put on a white suit. Clean. Sharp. Untouchable. Diamond earrings, my father's. My hair perfectly styled. I looked in the mirror, and the woman staring back at me? She wasn't broken anymore. The Winchesters arrived at the Grand Crystal Hotel, confident as ever. Smiling. Smug. Unaware. The room was full. Lawyers, investors, media, board members. Sterling started speaking. Some rehearsed speech about legacy and power. And then I walked in. Silence. Immediate. Absolute. Vivian's face drained of color. Sterling choked mid-sentence. Clarissa's mouth fell open. Nathaniel stood, pale and confused. I walked to the front. Slow. Controlled. Every step echoing. And then I smiled. Hello, Vivian. Sterling. Clarissa. Nathaniel. A pause. Did you miss me? Vivian snapped first. What is this? Security. They work for me now, I said calmly. Sit down. And she did. For the first time, she obeyed. I let the silence stretch. Then, allow me to reintroduce myself, I said. My name is Charlotte Donovan. The room shifted. CEO of Donovan Global Industries. Owner of Phoenix Collective. I looked directly at Sterling. And as of this morning, majority shareholder of Winchester Properties. I watched the realization hit him. Slow. Painful. I own 64% of your company, I continued. And all of your debt. No one spoke. No one moved. For years, I said softly, you treated me like I was nothing. I let that sit. Turns out, I was everything you should have feared. Then I played the footage. Every slap. Every insult. Every lie. Clarissa planting the necklace. Vivian manipulating. The doctor confessing. My medical records. The miscarriage. And finally, the party. The champagne. The laughter. Me being dragged out. The room watched in silence. Horror replacing arrogance. Nathaniel stood, shaking. Charlotte. I didn't know, he said, tears falling. I didn't know the baby was real. I cut him off. 10 weeks, I said coldly. Our child died because of your mother and your silence. He collapsed back into his chair. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't bring back the dead, I said. Sorry doesn't erase 5 years. My voice dropped. Sorry is worthless when it comes too late. Vivian snapped. She lunged across the table, screaming, completely unhinged. You're nothing. You'll always be nothing. I should have killed you when I had the chance. Security grabbed her instantly. Pinned her down. I didn't even flinch. Thank you, I said quietly, for that confession. Then I finished it. I'm taking everything, I said. Sterling, you're removed as CEO. Nathaniel, you're fired. Clarissa, you're done. This company will be restructured. Affordable housing. 70% of profits go to domestic violence victims. I leaned forward slightly. And the Winchester name? A small smile. Erased. The room was dead silent. But I wasn't done. I looked at Vivian. Criminal charges are already in motion, I said. Assault. Fraud. Conspiracy. And this time, there was no applause. Only fear. The fallout didn't stop in that room. It had already begun. The prosecutors? They already had everything they needed. Asterisk, my asterisk evidence. Airtight. Documented. Impossible to ignore. Sterling was hit with federal tax fraud charges. Years of lies finally catching up to him. Clarissa? Lawsuits buried her alive. Defamation. Fraud. Digital manipulation. Every little game she played, now exposed in full daylight. And Nathaniel. I saved something special for him. The divorce. I said calmly. Invalid. The room shifted again. Technical errors. Improper filings. It won't hold in court. I let that sink in before finishing. I'm legally entitled to 50% of your trust fund. A pause. $47 million. His face went white. And I will be taking every cent. But even that wasn't the final blow. I turned my attention to Vivian. Soft smile. Cold eyes. Oh, and Vivian, your mansion. She froze. The one that's been in your family for 6 generations? Silence. I bought it this morning. Cash. I stepped closer. 85 million. Her breathing became uneven. You have 30 days to leave. I let my words land, slow, deliberate. I'm turning it into a shelter for abuse survivors. A beat. Your legacy will finally mean something. That broke her. Completely. Vivian collapsed in her chair, gasping, trembling, unraveling in front of everyone she once tried to impress. I looked at all of them one last time. The people who thought they had destroyed me. You celebrated my downfall, I said quietly. A small smile followed. So now, I'm celebrating yours. My voice hardened. The only difference is I actually have the power to make it real. And with that, I turned and walked out. I didn't look back. My legal team stayed behind, finishing what I had started. The journalists rushed out like wildfire had just been lit. And the Winchesters? They sat there, in ruins. Within hours, the world knew. Every video, every slap, every lie. National news picked it up. The divorce party clip became one of the most watched videos online. The same world that mocked me now watched them fall apart. Public outrage was relentless. Vivian was arrested, convicted, 6 years in prison. Sterling followed, 8 years for federal fraud. Clarissa? Bankrupt, blacklisted, socially erased. And Nathaniel? He lost everything. His money, his job, his name, all of it. He tried to find me once. Showed up at my office building, shouting in the lobby like a desperate man with nothing left to lose. Security called me. I came down. We stood across from each other on polished marble floors. And I waited for something. Anger, pain, anything. But there was nothing. Just emptiness where love used to live. You didn't love me, Nathaniel, I said quietly. He flinched. You love the idea of me. Someone who made you feel like a good man. I stepped closer. But when it mattered, when I needed you to be a good man, a pause. You chose silence. His eyes filled with tears. Our baby died because of that silence, I continued. And a part of me died with it. He whispered, I'm sorry. I shook my head slightly. Now you want forgiveness because you're hurting? I looked him straight in the eyes. I hope you live a long life, Nathaniel. A beat, long enough to understand what your choices cost. And then I walked away. For the last time, I never saw him again. I didn't just inherit my father's empire. I honored it. 50,000 affordable homes. 100 schools in communities no one else cared about. job programs for survivors who needed a second chance, shelters across the country, real change, real impact. And that mansion, the place where I was broken, it became Charlotte's Haven, the largest domestic violence shelter in the country. 200 beds, therapy, childcare, training. Every room that once held pain now helps someone heal. I started therapy twice a week because revenge might feel powerful, but healing? That's something deeper, stronger, more lasting. Every Saturday morning, I teach art classes to kids at the shelter, kids who've seen too much too early. I tell them something I had to learn the hard way. You are not what happened to you. A small smile. You are what you choose to become. A year later, I got a letter from prison. Vivian. Her handwriting was shaky. Desperate. You destroyed my life. I have nothing. I am nothing. You've won. Are you happy now? I read it once. Then I wrote back a single line. Now you know how I felt. A pause. The difference is, I didn't deserve it. I sent it and never thought about her again. People always ask me the same question. Was it worth it? Do you feel guilty? No, I don't feel guilty for protecting myself. I don't feel guilty for exposing monsters. Vivian wanted to convince me I was nothing, but she was wrong. I was never nothing. And the moment I realized that, everything changed. The Winchesters thought my struggle made me weak. It didn't. It made me dangerous. Because when I finally had power, I knew exactly how to use it. Not to become like them, but to make sure no one else ever suffers the way I did. That's not revenge. That's justice. And justice doesn't apologize. That's my story. If it stayed with you, you already know why. So hit like, subscribe. Tell me in the comments, did I go too far? Or did they finally get what they deserved? I read everything. And remember this, your value isn't defined by people who refuse to see it. Stay strong. I'll see you in the next one.